Four of Canada's largest police associations are demanding change to protect their officers. The call for policy review comes after OPP Constable Greg Pershalla was shot and killed on December 27th near Hamilton, Ontario. Pershalla was the fifth officer killed on duty across Canada since September. What kinds of changes do Canada's police organizations want to see to keep their members safe? Mark Baxter is the president of the Police Association of Ontario. Tonight he's joining us from Paris, Ontario. Mr. Baxter, first off, our condolences for the loss of so many of your colleagues over the last couple of months here. First off, I want to ask you what you want to see come out of this review. What kind of changes do you believe are needed right now?
We know change is needed. Enough is enough. Something has got to change. We have had 5 police officers in the last 4 months murdered in the line of duty for doing their job. And, we can't sit by and do nothing. We have a responsibility to honor the sacrifice of those members. And so we're working together with our other association partners, and we want to come together and come up with some recommendations for some meaningful change.
And I know that statement was put out by your partners today, in that you said that everything will be on the table, from bail to sentencing to enhancing Crime Stoppers to a growing and chronic shortage of police officers, is the way it's described in the statement. Do you believe that there is political will from all levels of government to implement the changes that you want?
Certainly, we hope so. I think one of the things that the tragedy of the last week and the murder of Constable Pershalla has really brought to the forefront is that surely our judicial system can do better. And I think we're hearing from Canadians around the country that are asking themselves, how is it possible that someone who has a firearms prohibition that gets arrested with a firearm is somehow granted bail and has the opportunity to get another firearm and then shoots and kills a police officer? And I think we can all do better. And what we're hearing from Canadians the last week is that we need to do better, and our systems need to be looked at.
You know, there certainly have been calls for more to be done. Toronto Mayor John Tory, for example, he said this week that he announced a plan to increase the city's police budget by more than $48 million, much of which is going to be used to hire hundreds more police officers. But then critics are saying increased police presence could mean a greater risk for vulnerable and racialized communities. So is putting more police on the streets the answer, or is it that just too simple?
I think that's part of it. I think the chronic staffing shortages that we're experiencing in this country, certainly that we've got going on in the province of Ontario, are a contributing factor to a rise in violence that we're seeing in all of our communities. And I think putting more police officers and more boots on the ground in our communities is a first step, and is certainly part of a very complicated and multifaceted conversation that needs to take place.
It certainly is complicated. And, there's concern because, for example, in Toronto this past summer, a report from that city's police service showed that force against Black, Indigenous, and other diverse communities was used more often than the rest of the population. And there's this ongoing effort, as you well know, to defund the police. So how do you balance the concerns of these communities, these minority communities, and the calls to defund the police in some cases with more policing? Or are you able to strike that balance?
Well, we need safer communities. One of the things that we know is happening right now is that violent crime in this country is on the rise. The crime severity index for violent crime over the last couple of years has risen again. And so when members of our communities don't feel safe in their own home, then we need to step up, and we need to re-examine the processes and the way that we're doing things. And I think everyone in this country has a right to feel safe in their own home, in their community where they live, work, and play. And that's not happening right now with the rise in violence that's happening in our communities. And so, one of the issues that we need to look at is going to be the resource challenges that we have in policing.
It is more money for just officers the only part of the solution here, or do you think that there needs to be more training for officers as well?
I'm not sure. We always welcome more training, but our police officers, and I can't specifically speak to the rest of the country, but the police officers in Ontario are some of the highly trained police officers that we have in the world. They attend a very regulated basic constable training program course when they first get hired for 13 weeks at the Ontario Police College. And we know that then they get back to their home police service. There is ongoing training before they get deployed on the road, while they're with a coach officer, and then yearly training and sometimes semi-annual updates and training that takes place as well.
You know, I have heard this over the past week and before that as well, an effort to funnel outrage into action. What will that look like from your membership?
So for us, we are joining with the Canadian Police Association, the Ontario Provincial Police Association, and the Toronto Police Association. We collectively represent more than 60,000 sworn and civilian police personnel across the country. And we are saying what most Canadians are saying, and enough is enough. We can't allow the death of these officers and the violence in our communities to go unchallenged. So we are going to get together and we are going to take a look at and we're going to examine the issues that have led to the deaths of these 5 police officers. And we're going to analyze the research, and then we're going to come up with some recommendations and call for some meaningful change to our judicial and our public safety frameworks.
And there has been calls to change the bail system. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says that part of the problem is relaxed bail policies brought in by the Trudeau government. He believes that any repeat violent offender should be denied bail until their trial and be incarcerated for that entire time before they're sentenced. Do you agree with that stance, particularly on bail policy?
I think the bail framework in this country is part of the conversation that we need to take a look at. We need to have a serious conversation about bail. Certainly, the system failed Constable Priscilla. I think all Canadians would agree with that. So bail is something that we need to look at. The bail provisions are something that we need to look at in this country. We also need to look at sentencing provisions as well. And so we're gonna continue to look at those and how they sort of all work together and where we can identify some gaps and make some recommendations for change.
The Premier of Ontario has said that this, what he describes as a failed bail system, has led to a revolving door of violent criminals. Would you agree with that assessment?
I spoke to the Premier this week about this issue, and I think one of the things that the Premier is aware of and that every police officer in this province is aware of, and that is we routinely arrest offenders, often for violent offenses, to have them released. And surely our members deserve better, but our communities deserve better than what they're getting for the justice system. And so that's that's one of the things that we're going to take a hard look at. Just
finally, before I let you go, do you have any idea of the timeline for this review and the recommendations?
We don't have a timeline. We're certainly prepared to get to work right away and look over things over the next days and weeks and months as we collaborate and take a look. And we don't want to rush it. We want to make sure that we fully understand that we undertake a full review of the judicial and public safety frameworks so that we can have a full understanding of the issues that we have, and then we can make some great recommendations for best remedies after identifying what's not working. And at that point, then we'll call for change.
All right. Well, we'll be following it. Thank you, Mark. That's Mark Baxter, President of the Police Association of Ontario.
Thank you.